And we welcome you to Eye on the Storm, the February edition here of our show as we take a look at what's gone on in the world of University of Rio Grande athletics. I'm Randy Payton, the Sports Information Director, joined by Athletic Director Jeff Lanham. And Jeff, before we get into the show, I guess it's a crazy time of the year for you and I. The winter sports beginning to wind down, the spring sports starting up, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on in a compact period of time.
We talked about the overlap that we've got going on right now, and it occurs kind of 2 times a year. In the fall, everybody's arrives and wants to get going, and then in the springtime, we've just got seasons that are overlapping, and it keeps a guy like you kind of busy.
It keeps
right?
me very busy, yes. We want to start out the show today, though, with one of the new sports here at the University of Rio Grande, and that's men's and women's bowling. And joining us on the show today is head coach Brett Little. And Brett, I guess your world right now is as crazy as ours. You're out trying to fill a roster and start a program from scratch, and obviously that's not an easy task.
No, we've been on the road quite a bit in the last 3 weeks. Just looking around at high school tournaments, which are ending soon, so we're trying to get them all in before everything shuts down.
You do have a first couple of signees out of the way. I traveled with you last week. We went to Washington Courthouse and signed Macy Deddy, and I think we've got a photo that we can put up of that. She was actually the first signee of, there it is, of the program, and you've signed her, and then I guess a couple of days later added number 2.
Mm-hmm. We went to Logan High School and signed Lindsay Downs.
And just touching on based on that, the exciting thing about that is that it's the first ever, and that's what's kind of neat about beginning this. And I love telling people that we're starting men's and women's bowling, and they kind of do that puppy cock their head at me and look and go, whoa. And then I just say how excited everybody is about this around the state even. Maybe touch base about some of your experiences maybe that you've had by going into these tournaments.
Well, this area for some reason has been kind of dead on bowling. The rest of the state seems to be booming. 400 high schools bowling, we're finding out.
Wow. Yes.
Most of them have men's and women's bowling teams. So there's quite a few high school kids bowling. So
where will you do your, where will be your home court?
Skyline Bowling Center in Gallipolis. We're going to run everything there. Try to run tournaments the first year, so we probably won't do too much home stuff at the beginning.
Right.
And later get seeded into a conference somewhere and try to get comfortable.
Well, and that's that's something that you and I have talked about, that we kind of looking at the program getting started, kind of do an independent this first year and just kind of go around to see how everything's done. We really don't know. We are in new territory, very new territory.
Try to get a team together and get out and make a name for ourselves quick.
That's right. And both on the men and women's side, your first 2 bowlers are on the women's side, and you've got as much interest on the men's side as well.
Yeah, just the men seem to not get their paperwork done as quick as the women, so. But we're just waiting to see who the first one for the men's going to be. First one gets across the finish line there wins. So
right.
They'd be number 1.
Macy was the first signee for your women's team. I know in making that trip up with you, you guys feel like she is the perfect anchor for a first team.
Yeah, well, I've been working with her for a few years. They brought her to me 3 years ago for private lessons, and she was a 140 average bowler then, and we've really pulled her up with the high school coaches she has, and I've had some input on her with a couple of the professional coaches, and she's up to around 200 now. I think she bowled a 290 in one of the tournaments a few weeks ago. So,
well, that'll get it done.
Yeah.
What are you looking at in terms of numbers? When all is said and done, What are you looking like for a roster on the men's and the women's side? How many kids are we?
Well, target roster 20 men, 15 women for the first year. If I can get 15 on each one, I'll be happy for the first round. So, and we've talked to several people, and we've got several good prospects. We just got to get everything roped in and get it taken care of.
And when you say we, who's the we that we've got?
The assistant coach, Phil Carl, who I would normally have doing this. He has been on the road quite a bit. He was even in northern Ohio last night.
Right. I talked to him on the phone as he was going up there.
Yeah, he's watching kids, and he's really got into this. And
what's his background?
He was on the PBA tour for several years.
Okay.
He's a substitute teacher now, so retired.
Right.
Taught for several years in the public school system, but he was on tour, and he toured for about 8 years. Different places, several big tournaments.
It's exciting. It's an exciting thing, and new events.
Yeah.
The transformation of men's and women's bowling.
Yeah, I hope to get the area fired up and get everybody into it and try to get the high schools going down here.
I know right now primarily you're recruiting in Ohio, but that's not something that you want to keep just in the Buckeye State. You'll look at areas around the tri-state area.
Yeah, we have talked to people in Michigan and West Virginia, a couple in Kentucky, so it's just, like I say, a matter of getting everybody roped in and getting them here.
I had written down here what's the hardest part of the process thus far. Is that it? Just trying to get everybody on the same
Finding
page?
out, yeah. Well, I'm new to all this also, so
You're not
going through the whole process of admissions and financial aid in the works, just getting everybody in line,
right,
because they don't know what to do, and I'm learning too. So.
Right. Well, you also have got some international interest as well.
Yeah, we've got a young lady and a young man from Panama City, Panama, have contacted us. They are working right now, as far as I know, on their testing to get everything taken care of, and they were on the Panamanian national team last year. So that would be a good addition.
Good addition, what we've got going. Fantastic.
Well, the process has begun. Happy to have you on, and hopefully things work out as we proceed in the future.
Yep. Hope we don't mess everything up.
Looking forward to it. And you are going to have tournaments also at your place as well. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, in June we're going to work on a high school clinic. Try to get some. There goes the mic again. Sorry. I'll just hold on to that. We're going to work on a clinic for high school students. Try to get some last-minute prospects. And try to build this program so it'll go every year and try to pull bowlers out of that.
Well, before we take off, before you take off, give us some background about maybe youth bowling. And I mean, there's been a separation of bowling, and it's kind of turning the corner and becoming more popular now.
Yeah, several years ago, like I say, new to this. Several years ago, bowling took a downturn, probably in the late 80s, 90s. And you went from the transition, the old days where you had the older leagues. You really didn't have any youth programs. And now they've made the swing, and youth programs are really starting to grow. Adult bowling is still dying off. But that's when my main concentration is getting youth bowling going again.
What other things do you do at the bowling alley other than just to bowl?
We have full pro shop, so we're certified pro shop to drill and take care of equipment. We do have a youth program on Saturday mornings in the wintertime.
What's the age group on those?
8 to 18.
Okay.
And we do have some little guys, 5 to 8, also bumper league.
Right. And you do you have a snack bar?
Oh yeah, full snack bar. Like I say, full leagues. We do tournaments all year round for the general public, not necessarily the good bowlers.
Right.
We added batting cages last year.
Oh, on the outside.
Right. And working on miniature golf this year. Whether I get that done or not with the bowling thing going on,
right,
getting the program running, I don't know, but we're working on it.
You're kind of busy.
A little bit, yes. So,
right.
Okay, everything's hopping down there. So.
Very good.
And we run a full trophy T-shirt shop out there.
A lot of things going on.
When do you sleep?
What's sleep?
Thank you. Brett, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Brett.
Brett Little, the new head bowling coach here at the University of Rio Grande. As we mentioned, they signed their first couple of players for the new program. We look ahead at some of the established programs that we've got here at the school, and a couple of them are in action tonight. That would be the men's and women's basketball team in the River States Conference Tournament. We'll start with the men. They finished the regular season 13-17 overall, 8-9 in the league. Jeff, they're the number 4 seed out of the River States East Division. They're at number 18 IU Southeast tonight. They've got their hands full, but Coach French has his team playing pretty well.
They are, and I think just watching them play the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season, it really seems like things are starting to click, and this is the time of the year when you want it to click. IU Southeast had a overtime game over the weekend with I think Brescia.
Yep.
They clobbered us here, and I don't think there's going to be much to motivate our players for tonight. I think they're very confident and feel very good about what's going on. You know, we've got a couple of people that are seniors, and then we've got a lot of underclassmen that are kind of coming into their self and maybe just new to our program. And you know, it takes time, and that's what Coach French has been talking about all year long. Is just making these. And when I say youth, I mean only youth to the program. Right. You know, that they. Trying to get them to understand and buy in, and I think it's happening. It seems like it's going on. We got a tough road. You know, we talked about this yesterday, that if we are fortunate to win tonight and the other seeded teams win, that would put us at number 20.
Number 20 in the semifinals against West Virginia.
And when we say number 20, we mean number 20 in the country. And then if it continues and we're fortunate enough to beat them, all on the road, then we would go to number 9 in the country, IU East, on the road. So we need to become road warriors, and you know, starts tonight. I mean, it's a 1-game season, and there's some good things about that, you know, to be able to do those things.
You talked about some of the newcomers. One of the guys that's been playing pretty well of late, and we've got a video clip of him, is Stanley Christian. He had a bucket in the win over Carlo in the regular season finale the other day that was pretty impressive. He drives to the lane from the left wing and gets a pretty impressive one-handed dunk. I think he had 26 points in that game. It was a career high, and he's been playing very well of late. Will Hill's been playing very well of late. Will Hill, as a matter of fact, named to the all-conference first team yesterday. There's a picture of Will in the win over Point Park the other night. Corey Cruz also champions of character on the all-conference team. So a lot of good things going on, and a lot of guys getting recognized that need the recognition.
Right, and Corey's one of those final game person.
Right.
He is trying to. You know, fulfill what he's trying. You know, his goal was to get to the national tournament, and that's what they're all looking at right now.
And I think we've got that clip of the play that Stanley Christian made against Carlo.
To play in the ball game.
And you'll see him there on the left wing, and he just explodes to the basket, and that's a 6'11" guy that he just dunked over, John LeGrand for Carlo. So pretty impressive play by Stanley Christian, a redshirt freshman. And I think if they had an award called Freshman of the Year and not Newcomer of the Year, Stanley obviously would have been probably the leader toward that particular award, but they don't.
Yeah, just what I was saying earlier, he is definitely one who's come into his own here and kind of figured out what he's good at and what he can do. And he's very athletic. He needs to go get the basketball, and that's what he's doing. And taking it to the glass like that is definitely something that's a positive for us and for him.
Women's basketball's in action tonight as well. They finished the regular season 19-11. They were 10-7 in the River States Conference. Also the number 4 seed out of the East Division. They head to IU Kokomo tonight, a team that they felt like they should have beaten the first time out there. Came up short. I know Coach Smalley and his girls have been waiting on the chance to maybe exact a little measure of revenge tonight.
That was, I don't know, maybe a week ago I was talking with Coach Smalley about who do you want to play, you know? Of course, they got to make maybe we should step back and say that the important thing about both of these men's and women's teams that they had to win this past weekend in order to get in.
Correct.
And both of them stepped up and played very well. So that's kind of, leading into the tournament on definitely on a positive note. And he said he would rather play IU Kokomo and just felt better about the way they matched up. And that's, as a coach, that's what everybody's looking at. How do we match up? How do they match up with us? And he feels very good about that this evening.
Been a big year as far as milestones for this team. Brooke Markham, who was yesterday named to the first team all-conference. There you see her in a recent game here at the Newt Oliver Arena. She was a first-team selection. She's one of 3 players to go over 1,000 points this season. 1,000 points, and actually in her case 1,000 rebounds as well. Only the 3rd player in school history to do that. Sharday Baines, also a second-team all-conference selection. She's had a great year, and then the guy that runs the whole show, and I guess before we leave Sharday, she's also one of those 1,000-point performers for her career. And then the guy that runs the show, David Smalley, the head coach, he surpasses 500 wins for his career. And we also want to point out Alexis Payne, 1,000 points for her career as well. It's been seemingly one little milestone after another.
Right, and interesting, yesterday women were getting ready to start practice, and Sharday was sitting by herself in her practice gear there on the bench, and everybody was just kind of shooting around pre-practice. And I just sat down with her and asked her about, what she had on. And she kind of looked at me, and I said, "You've got a practice jersey on." And the idea is that there are many, many people in the United States that won't be putting that on anymore. And and they're done, they're finished as of today. And that's what's kind of neat about this, about making those playoffs and being involved in that, is that you've got another game. And we talked about how to leave it out there, that you don't want to take anything home, and kind of your last go around, your last time at it, not to have pressure on you, but to go enjoy it, have fun, and enjoy what you're doing. And again, leave everything out on the court.
Well, they are at IU Kokomo tonight. We will have audio coverage of both of those games on our Stretch Internet portal. That's portal.stretchinternet.com, and you can get the audio for free. If you want to see the ball games, you can go through the River States Conference, and they'll have video on a pay-per-view basis. We turn now to indoor track and field. They complete their regular season, I should say, last weekend up at Findlay. And now look ahead to the NAIA Nationals on March 2 through 4 down in Johnson City, Tennessee. 6 national qualifiers from Rio Grande, 4 on the men's side, 2 on the women's side. Brandon Massey, Nicola Angelic, Alex Nichols, and Ben Martinez on the men's side. Tiana Petty, who we've got a photo of, who's been the River States Conference Athlete of the Week 3 or 4 times this season, and Nikki Worsham also qualifying for the Nationals. They've had a good year in their own right.
Absolutely. And the facilities down at Johnson City used to be there years ago, and Coach Willie has been around a couple years, and he talks about how much they enjoy down in that area, and it's just a beautiful part of the country. Absolutely. The Tri-Cities with Johnson City, Kingsport, and Bristol. Beautiful part of the country down in there with the Smoky Mountains close by. Fairly close for us. I mean, it's a van ride down, and that's good for us when we're talking about trying to, get these athletes to a place where they can perform and feel comfortable, and again, bring the best out of them.
And you look at that list that we just discussed, those six, Ben Martinez and Tiana Petty both set school records last week in the 600-meter run for indoor season. And we mentioned indoor season. They closed that out with the Nationals and then turned right around, and it's the start of a very busy outdoor season. And there'll probably be more kids involved in that than there were during the indoor season.
I definitely, and even talking to some of those athletes, kind of were using, we had some that had injuries in the fall, and they're using this indoor just to kind of see where they're at what point they are, and to prepare themselves for this outdoor season. And the ultimate goal that all of them have is to advance and score a mark that will take them to qualify them for the national tournament. And so the weather, who knows what's going on with the weather and for the outdoor. I mean, that's the thing about baseball, softball, and track, is we don't know what it's like.
Right.
But if it's raining, it doesn't matter to track. They're going to, as long as it's not
lightning,
it's a great day to be a runner. And it's so. It's pretty exciting. We've got field events and sprinting and distance people, all that are involved with this. And we'll probably be looking at 60 to 65 people competing. And we'll talk more about this later, but this year's conference meet is in Pittsburgh. Oh gosh, I just lost the name of the...
Point Park.
Point Park is the host, but
Robert
it's not.
Morris.
It's at Robert Morris. Thank you, Randy. That's where it's being played this year. We've hosted it the last few years, and so it's going up to Pittsburgh this year. So they'll have a nice event that'll take place in April.
In our closing minutes, we don't want to forget baseball and softball. Baseball off to a 4-7 start, making trips, I guess, to Bluefield last week, where Trent Downs, we got a photo of him. He came within 1 out of a perfect game in the first game of a doubleheader on Sunday. Got the win. That helped them snap a losing streak. They're 4-7 as they head to Reinhardt University down in Georgia this weekend. Of those 7 losses, they're hard luck thus far. 4 of them have been walk-off.
Right. Yeah. And that's the difference of one pitch. Is what it is. And you look at that record and you say, wow, what's going on with them? But Coach Warnemont does a wonderful, anybody will tell you this, just look at his record, that he works them and prepares them for the end of the year. And that's when they start playing their best. And, anybody involved with this, again, with outdoor sports, know that you have to be outdoor. And we've not had, although we've had good weather here the last few weeks, it's really difficult for us in this part of the country to get out year round, and that makes a difference. So it takes us a little bit longer to get going, and the idea that you take that pitch one way or the other, and now we're 7-3, instead of 4-7, something like that. So it's an interesting way to see baseball, how it's working.
And I guess we should mention as well, they receive votes in the preseason top 25 among the NAIA coaches. Our softball team, which is 24th in the country in the preseason, they're off to a 6-2 start. They too have made trips south each of the first 2 weekends. They head to South Carolina this weekend to take on South Carolina Beaufort and the College of Coastal Georgia. And the young lady that's really led them thus far is a sophomore out of Newark, Ohio, in Carly Skis. And she has just about hit everything that's been thrown at her. A 500 average thus far, 5 doubles, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, and I understand you take credit for all that.
I do. I take credit. Carly's actually in my racquetball class this semester, and that eye-hand coordination, she is seeing the ball. It looks like a big melon coming at her right now. I was talking to her about that in class the other day, and she said, I just swing my bat. I hit everything that comes at me right now. So, I mean, and both baseball and softball get into those kind of grooves like that. And she went from 8th in the lineup to 1st so they can get more at-bats with her and more pitches. And it seems to be working. They've had a couple very good wins. They probably
beat number 13 Georgia Gwinnett.
Right, at Georgia Gwinnett, which actually was the first collegiate win of Casey Jenkins for softball. So that was a little bit of a milestone there as well.
That win over Georgia Gwinnett, I think the highest ranked team that our softball program has ever beaten.
Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
Well, and we talked with Coach Hammond when they were on when he was on before. He's got a lot of people back from the team that went to the national tournament team and last year, and they're expecting big things.
That's right. That's right. And they're picked #1 in the conference, of which we've talked about that, and also the idea he's got five pitchers returning and 7 of the 9 starters, and he feels really good. And I think he's got freshmen playing out on shortstop and.
Michaela Crime.
Yeah, Michaela Crime, and so it's a good thing.
Want to mention here before we leave some of the upcoming events at home. Baseball will play its home opener the weekend of March 3 and 4, and it starts in conference play as Point Park comes to town. Softball actually won't be at home until the 21st of March. It'll be Kentucky Christian who comes in for a doubleheader that week. Prior to that, baseball's at home on the 11th and 12th against Brescia. The first part of March, pretty much on the road again, because as Jeff said, you try to take advantage of the better weather down south, but you start getting into that last week of March and then into April, and there's a whole bunch going on.
A lot of stuff happening, so it'll be exciting. It'll be a fun time to be here, and both those teams are playing good schedules. Softball is playing ranked team after ranked team after ranked team, and baseball is doing the same thing. So they don't back down from anybody. They're enjoying it.
Well, that'll do it rather for the February edition of Eye on the Storm. We thank Brett Little, the head bowling coach, for joining us. For Jeff Lanham, Randy Payton saying so long. We'll talk with you in March for the next edition of Eye on the Storm. For now, so long.